Hello, and welcome to Taste the Meal with Your Ears. In this episode, we're going to dive into a really fascinating question. What is the three-part formula that creates all your strongest emotions? So, have you ever been, just stuck in a feeling? I'm talking about that nagging worry that just won't quit, or maybe that feeling of resentment from an argument that just keeps replaying in your head on a loop. We've all been there, right? It's a totally universal experience. But here's the thing. What if I told you there's a predictable reason why some emotions fade in minutes while others can stick around for weeks, months, or even years? You see, we experience just tons of emotions every single day, right? But the really powerful ones, the ones that last, they aren't random. Not at all. It turns out they're actually built using a very specific and kind of secret formula. And here it is. This is the emotional formula. It's just three simple ingredients: interpretation, identification, and repetition. When you put these three together, they create what we're going to call a strong emotion. Think of this as the blueprint for how a simple, fleeting thought can grow into something that feels like a core part of who you are. Okay, so what is a strong emotion exactly? Well, it's basically a feeling that you've practiced so many times it's become second nature. It's like an automatic reflex that gets triggered by a related thought or event. It can feel like it's an inseparable part of you, right? But, and this is the key, as we're about to see, it's not something you're born with. It's built. All right, let's break this formula down piece by piece. We're going to start with the first, and you could argue the most important ingredient of them all: interpretation. Simply put, this is the meaning you personally assign to an event. It's the story you tell yourself about what just happened. Now, this is a really crucial concept to get. No event on its own has the power to make you feel anything. Seriously. An event like a comment from a coworker or getting stuck in a traffic jam, it's totally neutral. It's your interpretation of that event that gives it all its emotional power.
Let's take a super simple example: rain. For a farmer who needs their crops to grow, rain is a blessing, right? It brings relief and joy. But for someone who planned a picnic, that exact same rain is a curse. It brings frustration and disappointment. The event itself, the rain, is identical. The only thing that's different is how each person interpreted it.
So here's the crucial point. A lot of our emotional suffering comes from this gap between our expectations and reality. We have an expectation like it should be sunny for my picnic, and then reality comes along and delivers something totally different. That friction right there between what you want and what you get, that's where your interpretation steps in and creates the negative emotion.
All right, on to the second ingredient in our formula: identification. Now, an interpreted thought, that's just a spark. To become a real fire, it needs fuel. And identification, that's the fuel. It's that moment you take a thought and you make it personal. You make it about you. And this idea is so powerful. It's really liberating when you get it. Think about it. We often say things like, I am angry or I am sad. But you are not your anger. You are not your sadness. These are just temporary states that you're experiencing. They're not the core of who you are. Here are a couple of really great ways to think about this. First, imagine you're the sun. You're constant. You're always there. Your emotions, they're just clouds passing by. Sure, they might block the light for a little while, but they don't change the sun itself. Or try this one. Think of emotions like clothes. Today, you might be wearing sadness, but tomorrow you could be wearing excitement. You can change them. They're not your skin. You see, an emotion, if you just leave it on its own, is actually powerless. It'll just fade away. It's our identification with it, that act of saying, this feeling is me, that gives it all its life and all its power. So when you stop giving it your attention, you basically starve it. Okay, and now for the final piece of the puzzle. The ingredient that cements a feeling and turns it into a core part of your personality: repetition. This is the engine that drives our emotional habits. It's the simple act of replaying that thought and identifying with it over and over and over again.
Let's watch this whole formula in action with an example. Imagine you have an argument with a friend. Okay, step 1, you interpret their words as hurtful. Step 2, you identify with that hurt. You think they disrespected me. But the real damage, the thing that makes it stick, is step 3, repetition. You replay that argument in your mind for days, and every single time you replay it, you're strengthening that emotional circuit, turning a fleeting moment of hurt into a long-term grudge.
And that's exactly how emotional habits are formed.
By repeatedly focusing on your financial challenges, money worries become way easier to trigger. By dwelling on a mistake you made, those feelings of inadequacy just get stronger and stronger. You're literally conditioning your mind to return to that emotional state more and more easily in the future.
Okay, so now we understand the formula that builds these powerful emotions. But so what? Why does this even matter? Well, it matters because if it's a formula, that means it can be deconstructed. It means we can actually learn how to break the cycle.
So think about this for a second. If interpretation plus identification plus repetition is what creates the strong emotion, what do you think happens when you remove just one of those building blocks? What if you decide to change your interpretation? Or what if you just refuse to identify with the thought? The whole thing just falls apart. The entire structure collapses. By taking away just one of those elements, the emotion starts to lose its grip on you. You don't have to fight the feeling head on. You just have to cut off its fuel supply. It's that simple. And that, right there, is the real power of understanding this. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical tool. Knowing this formula is the very first step toward choosing your emotional state, instead of just automatically reacting to it. It lets you see the whole process as it's happening. And then you get to decide. Do I want to keep building this emotion, or do I just want to let this thought pass by, just like a cloud in the sky?
So we're going to dive a lot deeper into that first ingredient in our next explainer. See you then, where we'll explore the chapter titled Changing Your Interpretation. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts down in the comments. Your support really does encourage us to keep creating more of this content for you.